Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. This morning I would like to look at the lawyers representing the 5 accused persons in the Senzo MEYIWA trial and the Legal Aid Board and explain to you how it works or how it is that we find the situation where all the legal representatives or all the advocates there, including Attorney Ramsipili, have been appointed by the Legal Aid Board to represent the 5 accused persons. This system works in this manner. Every attorney or advocate who wishes to be granted or given work by the Legal Aid Board South Africa makes an application to the Legal Aid Board to be accredited with the Legal Aid Board. If that accreditation is successful, and there are procedures which have to be followed before that accreditation gets finalized. But if that application is successful, that particular advocate or attorney will then get accredited by the Legal Aid Board to undertake work on behalf of the Legal Aid Board under a system called Judicare. Judicare is for those lawyers who are not full-time employees of the Legal Aid Board. I myself am on Judicare. I am one of those lawyers who made an application to be accredited by the Legal Aid Board, and my accreditation was successful, and I am on Judicare. And at any time, from time to time, the Legal Aid Board will then allocate matters to me. Now, that allocation of matters is entirely at the discretion of the Legal Aid Board. But of course, things like your experience will be very crucial in terms of what matter can be allocated to you to undertake. The decision is based solely on the experience that one has. So having been accredited, that is how then you will work with the Legal Aid Board, like I've indicated. I myself am on Judicare. Now, in the Senzo MEYIWA trial, the 5 accused persons have approached the Legal Aid Board because they are indigent, or in simple language, they are unable to secure legal representation on their own. We all know that legal representation in South Africa does not come cheap. So in the event that an accused person, like the 5 accused persons in the Senzo MEYIWA trial, are unable to secure the services of their own lawyers at their own expense, an arrangement can then be made for them to get legal aid lawyers to represent them. This is to ensure that, justice is not only for the rich. Justice is for everyone. That is why the Legal Aid Board was established in the first place, in order to allow South Africans who cannot afford lawyers legal assistance in their trials. So the 5 accused persons in the Senzo MEYIWA trial are on legal aid because they do not have the financial resources to hire lawyers of their own choice. Now let me move on to another angle which I want to straighten out. When the Legal Aid Board allocates a matter to a particular advocate or attorney, in this case, remember, we are talking about the Senzo MEYIWA trial, but this applies to everyone who is on Judicare. When that appointment has been made, that lawyer will then do all the necessary preparation to represent the accused person that has been designated by legal aid as requiring that sort of assistance. Legal aid does not dictate how that lawyer must handle that trial. In other words, in the handling of that trial, in the defense of the accused persons that the lawyer will be representing, although he has been instructed by the legal aid board, he or she is at liberty to act in the best interest of that client and with no influence whatsoever from legal aid to say how he or she must handle that case. In other words, lawyers will be bound by their own professional ethics to represent that particular person, and the legal aid will not dictate how that defense must be undertaken. In other words, the lawyer is at liberty to exercise his or her own discretion in the best interests of that client. I know there's a lot of talk that, because legal aid lawyers are government lawyers, or the legal aid board is a government entity, therefore these lawyers, for some reason or another, are being dictated to by the legal aid board in terms of what they must do or should not do. That is incorrect. The legal aid board does not do that. All it ensures is there is adherence with its own policies. And its own policies are simply, procedural matters. For instance, let me give you an example. The legal aid board will not tolerate, unnecessary postponements where they are not warranted. But where postponement perhaps is warranted, like in the case of Advocate Munisi, who has sought, the postponement of the Senzo MEYIWA trial because he's trying to acquaint himself with the record. That is perfectly in order and justifiable, and the legal aid board will not have a problem with that. So let us just get things clear. The professional relationship between the lawyer and the legal aid board operates in that manner. The lawyer is at liberty to do everything professional to represent his or her client without any undue influence from any quarter at all, right? And in the undertaking of that work, like all advocates and attorneys, the particular lawyer, advocate or attorney, right, is only answerable to the legal practice council in terms of the professionalism that is expected from him or her in the handling of that matter. So, the lawyers in the Senzo MEYIWA trial, all 5 of them, all the advocates and attorney Ramusipili, are at liberty to undertake the defense of the 5 accused persons as they deem fit. And of course, they have the legal obligation to ensure that they provide the best legal defense possible. So, they will be open, for instance, to any advice coming from anybody. If, for instance, that advice will legally stand. In other words, if you are to approach any one of them and say to them, why don't you take this angle, right? Like in the previous video, you saw how I said that they could perhaps wait for the close of the prosecution case and make an application for the discharge of the accused persons at the close of the prosecution case. They are open to that kind of advice, and if they feel that, well, that is the route they want to go, nothing obliges them to take any advice from anybody, because they are professionals in their own right, and we have to respect them for that status. If they feel that they can take that kind of advice, they will take it. But if they find that it is not part of their scheme of things, they will reject it. And rejecting it, is purely a professional decision. So that is how those lawyers came to represent the 5 accused persons in the sense of MEYIWA trial. And I have no doubts about their professionalism. Look at, for instance, the late Advocate Mgomezulu. The late Advocate Mgomezulu was appointed by legal aid also. He was as professional as they come, and I'm not even doubting the integrity of any of the lawyers who remain. I am fully convinced that they are doing their best to represent those people, and they're giving them the best legal defense possible. So having said that, I think this sort of, straightens out matters in terms of what is the relationship of the Legal Aid Board and a lawyer appointed by the Legal Aid Board. Having said that, let me thank you for viewing this video, and let me thank you for viewing all the other videos in the past and all the other videos that will be coming your way. Please share and like these videos, and don't skip those ads, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.